Novak Djokovic will not contest the Australian Open. The world number one deported from the country late last night after his visa was sensationally cancelled.
It's been the story which hasn't seemed to stop over the past few days and weeks, and here to unpack everything is tennis commentator Todd Woodbridge.
A lot to unpack.
Lots to unpack, Todd. Nice to see you. Look, it's been a pretty wild 24 hours, and I know that you did spend a bit of time with Novak last week. Have you been able to speak to him since that decision yesterday? Do you know how he's going?
Morning, Carl and Ali. Welcome back, by the way. No, I haven't seen him since. I did get the opportunity just before a practice session a few days ago to talk to him, asked him a few questions about how he was feeling, what was going on, how he was coping with everything that had happened. And you could see that there was a look in his eye that was very much at that point where he knew what has happened potentially could still happen. And you could tell that it was taking its toll on him even at that point. I wonder, had he have got the reverse decision last night and he was out to play, actually how much he would have had in terms of energy to be able to get through the tournament. But alas, he's gone. And now we've got time to focus on some tennis.
Do you know, and the thing about that is, if he'd gone on to play, it would have been really interesting to see how the Melbourne crowd went with all of that. And so maybe there's been some angst that's been avoided here. He did distract from the tournament. He did lose the locker room, didn't he? Which was significant.
Yeah, I think, Carl, that one of the things is that because we weren't able to get a schedule out, there's 256 players that are still here, the very best players in the world. We don't have the number one, but everybody else is here to try to win the title. And they were all having to wait for his decision. And so everybody has been distracted by this. And unfortunately, you know, all parties involved, there's been no winners. No matter whether it's the playing group, the tournament, governments, you name it. It's just been something that, gee, you look back and you go, well, it could have been avoided, one thinks. Anyways, it's been a focus that now we really want to focus on what drama, what stories are going to, you know, come onto the court for us.
Well, that's it, isn't it? That distraction it's now done, and however you feel about what that decision was. So then looking at that now, you've got the world number one men's player who's not involved in the tournament anymore. Probably would have said he was the outright favourite. Who are you liking now in the men's?
Well, look, Daniil Medvedev, who won the US Open, is an obvious favourite, but I went out pretty early and picked Sasha Zverev on the men's side to win his maiden title, and I think it opens up very much for a new champion like him. Just think about Rafa, though. He's coming off injury. He comes in. He's in Novak's half of the draw, and he's probably looking going, hello, I'm actually got a chance to get to 21. This is not what we were expecting. You know, he got into Melbourne early, won the first lead-in tournament, in good form, perfect preparation. So there's some pretty good stories on the men's side. On the women's side, of course, we've got Ash Barty starting tonight at 7 p.m. on 9. And in typical Ash form, she's just flown under the radar, does her thing. Let's hope that she can win a third Grand Slam title. That would be quite special. You know what I love about that, Carl and Ali, is the fact that with Ash, it's a perfect prep for her, because we haven't talked about can she win it, will she win it, all of that. Novak's taken the distraction from her, and that is perfect. Yeah,
well, so we can, when she wins, we can thank Novak.
In her speech.
Yes, for something.
But there's something about Ash this time. Like, there is a look in her eye, there is a determination and a calmness that just, I don't know, she looks like she's in a very good headspace.
If you've put the mockers on her, I'm going to be very
No,
upset.
I'm not.
Yeah, don't you dare, Ali. Don't you dare put the mockers on her. No, she is, though, indeed. Like, she cut her season short after the US Open, came home after, you know, that great stint that she had mid-year. You can tell she's trained really hard. She's trim, she is fit, she's had that win in Adelaide. Everything has been perfect for her. So, but in her section of the draw, she's got Naomi Osaka potentially in the round of 16, which is probably the person we didn't want to see in that section for her. But, you know, Naomi's a different type of story. Great to have her back after what we saw her go through last year. I did chat with her as well, and she actually looks really happy to be back on a tennis court. So that's sort of about mental health, all that stuff. That's a good story.
The Osaka story is amazing.
Nice to be talking about the tennis.
Yes, exactly. Good on you, Toddy. Look forward to the commentary, mate. No one does it better. Welcome back, folks. This was the scene at Melbourne Airport late last night. The world number one tennis player, Novak Djokovic, cutting a pretty lonely figure under police guard as he's deported out of the country, ending 11 long days of legal wrangling. The whole saga leaving our relations with Serbia in absolute tatters this morning.
So there is plenty to unpack. Let's discuss now with Nine sports presenter Tom Rehn, who's at Melbourne Park, and in Queensland, the Shadow Treasurer Jim Chalmers. Nice to see you both this morning. Jim, when you look at how the last couple of days have played out, pretty well handled, yeah?
I wouldn't have thought so. I mean, if they didn't want him here in the first place, they shouldn't have given him a visa. And if they're prepared to be so hairy-chested now about anti-vaxxers, what about the anti-vaxxers in their own ranks? I think what's happened here, Ali, is that they've dragged this out for the best part of a week because it's a bit of a distraction from the fact that people still can't find rapid antigen tests, they can't find groceries, and people's summers have been more or less ruined by the government's failures. So this is a big stuff-up, but probably not as big a stuff-up as the one that's left people without groceries or tests or the ability to manage their own health.
We'll circle back to that in a second, but Tom, this is a great tournament. It's a great tennis tournament. Nothing will distract from that now. It'll be terrific to watch all these players come together. And look, for all those players, there's so much work has been done to get to this point. They can now do their stuff free of all that.
Carl, it's a great point you make, and I think you hit the nail on the head a little bit earlier when you said Novak probably lost the locker room. And I know being here yesterday, players were just at a wit's end, not knowing what time they're playing today. They knew they were playing, but because we weren't sure whether or not Novak was going to be in the tournament, they're saying, but what time, what court, you know, where am I going to be? So there was that real frustration. And I think once you lose that playing group like he has, and you started to see players actually publicly coming out, which is so rare against him, I think now finally everyone can take a deep breath and push forward, and hopefully the tennis now can start to do the talking.
So you think that frustration from the other players, that has been directed at Novak Djokovic as opposed to, say, the federal government or Tennis Australia?
It's a good question. I think there's probably a bit of both, and I think there's no doubt it could have been handled a lot better. But I think as well there is a feeling amongst a lot of the players that perhaps Novak has let himself become the talking point rather than the sport itself. Rafael Nadal, you know, put that a couple of days ago when he said, you know, no one is bigger than the tournament, albeit Novak's the greatest player in terms of wins here on the men's side, looking for win number 10 had he played. But I think there's been a real frustration that the spotlight, Ali, has shifted away from the tennis, and it's been clearly centred around Novak's story, which has been a huge one. I mean, it's been global. I can't remember a reaction like this to any story I've ever covered, and I've covered sport for close to 20 years. It's been extraordinary, unprecedented, and I think a lot of the tennis players are a bit annoyed that it's taken away from the purity of the sport itself.
Well, it's in the end, you know, everyone knows the tournament's about to start, right? And so it will have a lot of eyes on it, which will be a good thing. Jim, you might very well find yourself in government in the next couple of months. Will you continue that federal government policy of not allowing anti-vaxxers into the country?
Oh, obviously, Carl will apply the rules, and the rules are there for a reason. The issue that we've had with this whole Novak Djokovic thing is that the government gave him a visa in the first place. If he didn't comply, he shouldn't have got here. And instead, they let him in and they stuffed around for a week or so, dragged it out in the hope that that would dominate the front pages instead of some of these other mistakes that they're making. So it's been a stuff-up from beginning to end. But I agree with Tom, it's going to be an amazing tournament. It's going to be an incredible tournament. The highest-ranked player at the Australian Open is Ash Barty. There's a heap of really talented Australians. I'm soft on Kokkinakis. I think he had some great form in Adelaide to win that tournament and beat some good players. So we've got a great tournament ahead of us. But let's get the government focused on the things that really matter to people, which are those tests.
I'm going to give you an opportunity to rephrase that. No, we'll just move on.
Best. We know what you meant.
No, move on.
I knew exactly what you meant. But going...
We can fix that up in the transcript.
You know, it's a pre-record. It's a pre-record.
Fix it in post. That's what we always do, not a drama. But, Jim, going...
Ask me again, Carl.
Okay, what do you think about...
Kokkinakis. I don't actually want to hear this answer again.
Anyhow, listen, Jim, like I said, you might find yourself in government in the next couple of months. Are you going to increase taxes?
Oh, we've made it clear for a really long time now, Carl, that we're not taking those same tax increases to the next election that we took to the last one. We've been saying that for some time now. That's the point that Anthony Albanese was making again today. Taxes are actually higher under this government than they were under Labor. People are paying much more tax now than they were back then. We think the best way to deal with this $1 trillion in debt that we'll inherit from the government if we're successful at the election is to invest the right way in growing the economy, deal with some of the rorts and waste that we've seen so far from the government over the last 8 years or so. But also there might be opportunities to make sure that multinational corporations pay their fair share of tax here in Australia. So there are lots of ways that we can try and deal with that debt when the time is right, but we've made it clear that those policies around negative gearing and franking credits and the like, they won't be something that we'll be taking into the next election.
Jim, just hearing a bit of talk over the last couple of weeks and months, and you guys are pushing the Medicare thing. You've got the coalition talking about what you're going to do to taxes. Just makes me feel like it's going to get pretty ugly, isn't it, this campaign?
I think elections are always pretty willing, and there are serious issues at stake. We can't afford another 3 years like the last 8 years, a tax on Medicare, a tax on wages and superannuation, and all the rest of it. So the stakes are pretty high, so it'll be pretty willing, I would have thought. But I think what we've really learned the last couple of years, I think, when it comes to Medicare in particular, is you can't have a healthy economy without healthy people. That's why we can't have more of these attacks on Medicare. We need to strengthen Medicare, and that's what we propose to do.
OK, Tom, on a much lighter note, you're calling today. Have you called an Australian Open tennis game before? And excuse me for my ignorance if you have. But how excited are you?
Oh, I cannot wait. It's a real buzz. I've been lucky enough to be here for the last couple of years, Carl, and it's wide open. I mean, 11 of the last 12 years on the men's side have been won by Roger Federer or Novak Djokovic. They're both not here. So for the first time in a long time, it is so open on the men's side. And the women's side is just as open. Hopefully Ash Barty, as Jim alluded to, can take it out. But last year, for the 5th straight year, we had 4 winners of the 4 Grand Slams for the year. So it's anyone's guess. You could probably throw a dozen names out there. Hopefully it's Ash Barty, the first #1 seed of the women's side since 2015. But can't wait. I'm calling the first match this morning. It's Alexander Vukic up against Lloyd Harris, the South African. So let's hope it's a great day for the Aussies. Overcast, but beautiful day really here in Melbourne. It should be outstanding, so I can't wait.
I think we all want to hear just a little bit of calling. So just if you can picture this, Tom, and if you don't mind, one end is Stefanovic, other end is Langdon, and I'm about to ace him. How would you call that, my friend?
OK. 3 match points here for Langdon. It's been an incredible fight back. Stefanovic, he's struggling.
Tight shorts.
And she's done it. Can you believe it? She has taken it out against all the odds. Ali Langdon, the People's Champion, beats the greatest villain of our time.
All right, and that's something we'll cut out in post as well. Good to have you guys with us today. Good on you, Jim. Thank you, and happy calling today, Tom. We love it. Good on you, buddy. G'day, it's Ali.
And Carl.
Thanks for watching the Today YouTube channel.
Subscribe now for brand new videos every day and exclusive bonus clips.
Ali, say please.
Please? Why?
Please? I don't know.